A powerful spiritual force pulsates all around us, offering energy and meaning to our daily lives. If we can meet the challenge of this force, our lives will expand in joy, peace, and fulfillment. The Redondo Beach Center for Spiritual Living and the Ministry of Dr. Moira Fox presents Living Ideas. The power of new thought based on the dynamic principles of science of mind as taught by Dr. Moira Fox. These programs are presented in order that we encompass the mastery of well-directed faith based on the inner conviction that we are surrounded by an intelligent law, which does unto each of us as we believe.
So it's Sunday again. It's amazing how quickly that all goes by. The dash between Sunday and Sunday, and it is a dash. And this morning we're taking a look at gateways. Gateways. I love gateways. I take pictures of gateways, interesting gateways. You never quite know what's behind there, but when you get to pass through one, because gateways are passages from this to that, you always approach them, at least I do, with that sense of expectancy and wonder what good thing is on the other side. So I see gateways as possibility, a chance, an opportunity for new possibilities to crop up and bring their gift to us in our lives. And there are many gateways, and gateways can be beautiful spiritual tools. But the gateway I want to talk about this morning is a very divine gateway. And it's very sacred and it's very holy, and it's called humor. Humor, this is not the kind of a talk would be given in the church that I grew up in, I can assure you. But humor really and truly is what keeps us sane and centered and keeps us aware that there's more to life than meets the eye, more to life than meets the eye. And humor is an innate instinct within us. We're born with the ability to smile and to laugh and to giggle and to chuckle and to do all of that. It's very, very, very quickly babies are smiling, very, very quickly. And very soon they're giggling. And if you watch any of those YouTube pictures of babies, I mean really, you just roar laughing just listening to them and looking at them. And because laughter is infectious. Even the scriptures tell us that laughter is the best medicine. Well, why? Because, it boosts your immune system. It cools your blood. It lowers your blood pressure and all that great good stuff. Essential to our well-being is the ability to see the humorous side of life. And I was looking at something very recently that was describing various different translations of words in scripture and so on, the Greek, the Latin, the this, the that. And the Greek word for the Greek word for word is logos, and logos in translation means meaning. It means thought. It means word. But if you go to the Latin translation of that word, you find that logos shows up as those things plus joke. Now that changes everything, because if you were to read the first chapter of creation of the book of Genesis and read, in the beginning was the joke, and the joke was with God, and God was the joke. I loved that. I loved that. Now, that explains why we often say it's all a cosmic joke. So, understanding the energy of mirth, I love that word, mirth, and laughter, and joy that bubbles up, and humor, and fun. It's such an integral and central part of the composition that each one of us is, and yet probably very neglected. Statistics show, and of course statistics are only statistics, they're kind of a rough estimate of things, that on an average we laugh 6 times a day, but we complain 8 times a day. So I think we're frowning more than we're smiling. from those statistics. And remember, a frown is just a smile upside down. That's what we were taught as children. And when it comes to laughter and mirth and joy, it takes the weightiness out of life. It takes that terrible heaviness out of life. And certainly when you are engaged in humor and you embrace humor, it changes the way we engage in life, and it certainly changes the view we have of the divine and of the sacred. So when I was growing up in the tradition that I grew up in, the sacred had nothing to do with humor and laughter and fun and joy, not bubbly joy. It was the still, quiet inner joy that you got out of behaving yourself, etc. But it had nothing to do with that. And I don't know about you, but I've never seen a book titled Laughter and God, or Laughter and the Sacred, Laughter and the Holy, Laughter and the Divine. I've never, maybe I should write one. But I tell you, if I did see it, I would buy that in an instant. I would buy that in an instant, because I've come to know for myself that I'm only interested in a God who laughs, in a God of bubbly joy, in a God that delights, in a God that appreciates. And I know that that's what this thing called God does, even though we don't know what God is. I sense that God has a great good time. For heaven's sake, look at creation. Look at crocodiles, opossums, hyenas. I mean, you have to have a sense of humor to produce something like that. Not to mention all the other things we could mention. And somehow or another, we're all here together and we're supposed to get along. And things do make us laugh. And what makes you laugh won't necessarily make me laugh, but because you're laughing and laughing so heartily, I will laugh too, and I don't even know what I'm laughing at, but it's infectious. It's infectious. So going back to childhood, and the God that I was introduced to was a very scary, solemn, vengeful, angry, fickle, you name it. And you could find those elements there that described God in certainly the older scriptures. And therefore, when you were in church or you were learning about God and all the rest of it, I can assure you, if you were sitting beside me in my class, you weren't giggling, you weren't laughing, you weren't smiling. You were bowed down and you were getting scared and afraid. And that's the way it was with regard to the kind of God that we were introduced to when I was growing up 200 years ago in Ireland. But fortunately, in spite of that, the giggles would come through. The laughter would come through because it's part of the divine aspect of being, laughter. Then, of course, you laughed in all the inappropriate places, and God forbid that you would even smile, far less giggle in church. You would be smited, but not by God. But you would be smited for doing it. And, we were there doing the best that we could do. And sometimes when you're in a very quiet atmosphere and all of this solemnity is all around you, and a grown-up kind of sneezes or whatever, to a small child that's funny, and they start to giggle and so on. I've done it so many times myself. I can't tell you the amount of handkerchiefs I stuffed down my mouth to stop myself from convulsing because something funny happened in church, which probably wasn't funny at all, but it was to the children. And then you had the grown-ups from behind poking you with their umbrellas, telling you, "Shh, I don't know where you are, child, you're in the house of God. Be quiet, say your prayers, and while you're at it, pray for forgiveness." Well, that wasn't a nice energy to have in the house of God, and sometimes you'd love to tell them that, but you couldn't because you were a child and they're grown up and you had to respect adults. And so that's the kind of sense we had around anything that was sacred, anything that was holy, anything that was, to do with God and church and all of that. We had that strange sense. And God was far more scary than the bogeyman in the cupboard. At least, as I said this morning, the bogeyman was only in your cupboard or under your bed. That's all. You didn't have to worry about him anywhere else, just under the bed, in the cupboard. But this God was everywhere present with his big beady eyes on you, ready to catch you out doing wrong and smite you. Love that word, smite. Smite. The only time we ever use it is biblically, really, smite. And so, enough of the smiting. So we have to understand, all of us, that everything that life is, and life is everything, is holy, is sacred, is divine, is to be celebrated, crocodiles and all, to be celebrated, and to be played with and have fun with and be an enjoyment with. And we were never given that permission as small children. And it was kind of the same when company came to visit. Children should be seen and not heard. Be quiet, sit in the corner, read your book or whatever. And if somebody came in and children will tell you, why does Mr. Smith have such a big nose? You know, they'll do it like that. And why is Mrs. Cullen shaped like a pear? She was pregnant, of course. But children say these things and in front of the people because they just are in the moment. They're just in the moment and they don't see anything wrong with it. And again, when you see small children playing and running and racing and so on, they're absolutely exuberant. Exuberant. The energy is phenomenal. And they are in joyous abandon. They don't care who's looking at them or what's going on. They're laughing, they're dancing and so on. And when you do go to the scriptures, which is the strangest of all things, but it's not strange because we live in a world of contradictions and paradoxes, you also have in the same older scriptures telling us, when you appear before God, for goodness sake, appear before God dancing, singing, shouting for joy. Well, how does that fit with a God is going to smite me? Am I going to dance and sing and laugh and whoop it up before God who might smite me any moment? It's a conundrum. It's a conundrum. And yet that breaks through. It breaks through. Humor, fun, mirth breaks through in spite of it all. And so this week I'm asking us all to be as humorous as we can be. Maybe your friends think you're humorous anyway, but be consciously humorous this week and put as many smiles on your own face and the faces of others as you possibly can, so that we can up the number with regard to how many times we smile a day and down the number on how many times we complain in the day and get the balance right. Get the balance right. And in spite of all of that great solemnity that we endeavor to create as we relate to the sacred, the humor comes through in the most sacred and solemn of places. And I know that. I know that. Very often, you know, we're wrapped in adoration in the chapel, in the convent in the past, and a novice would do something or another, and then all the front benches, the novices, all chuckling, all in laughter, and of course ready to be punished for it as a result afterwards, scrubbing the floors for a week or something like that. But it happens. I mean, there's nothing funnier, as I was saying this morning, there's nothing funnier when you first enter the convent and you're getting used to eating your meals in silence. It's a different experience. And you're eating your meals and it's silence, and the older sisters are having a problem maybe with their teeth or something, and they're slurping their soup. Have you ever listened to slurping soup in absolute silence? You can't help yourself but laugh. It's a crazy thing. It's a crazy thing. And then you're in church, and it's the hour's adoration, and it's perfectly still and silent and calm, and all of a sudden one of the older sisters has fallen asleep and she begins to snore. What's the outcome? Laughter, of course, especially after we've been told to follow the example of our older sisters. So no matter what, humor is going to come through, and it's very much part of who and what we are. And those of us who think we're very demure, and those of us who think we're very pious in that way, and those of us who think that that's not kind of for us, that's a whole load of baloney. Because there's a God within you who is laughing all of the time, dancing all of the time, singing all the time, swinging all the time out of all of that glorious branches in creation and so on. And you are not giving it an opportunity to express itself. You came out of laughter. Once upon a time, a long time ago, in that beautiful land of nowhere and everywhere, the great Creator had an idea, and the idea was you. And when the idea thought of you, the Creator laughed and said, I want to know what it is to have joy, to have fun, to laugh by means of Jimmy. I am going to create Jimmy to find out. And there you are, you came out of a chuckle. Humor, mirth, joy. You came so that the world could have more smiles, more joy, more fun, more laughter, and more humor. That's why you're here. That's why I'm smiling. Because sometimes I thought, okay, all right already. There just doesn't seem to be much to smile about at the moment, but however, you put the smile on, not faked smile, but you put the smile on at the whole idea that you don't know a darn thing. Not really. When it comes to the divine and when it comes to God and all of that, I mean, the best we can do for a name for God, the very best we can do for the name of God in the scriptures is Moses and his burning bush when he heard in answer to the question, who are you? I am that I am. Well, to translate that in today's language is, I am whatever. Whatever. That's what I am. In other words, I'm everything. I am whatever. Everything and everyone. That's what I am. Life. So you and I are asked to get our arms around that concept, that big concept of what life is. It's everything, it's everything, it's everything. Omnipresent, everything, everything. And then with laughter is the best way to worship. Best way you could worship is through laughter. I mean, even, the greatest of holy people come to that eventually in the end. And that's what they're on the lookout when you go to monasteries and convents and so on. They're looking for individuals who really can laugh themselves. And they think that they'll make the best nuns and the best priests and the best monks and the best swamis and all the rest of it. Especially in Buddhism, they're really committed to smiling. Very much so. Because it's all a smile anyway. Garrison Keillor, who makes me laugh anyway, he says that humor is the presence of grace in the world and that it shines on all. And I love what Emerson says. He says, the earth laughs in flowers. And I like Patch Adams. Do you know Patch Adams? He's that wonderful doctor that dresses up as a clown and takes care of children. And he says that the most revolutionary thing that you could engage in our society today is to be happy. Is to be happy. Do you know many people who really are happy, who can say, I'm happy? I hope that would be knowing yourself. Knowing yourself. And even those solemn places that try to be very pious and you'll find a great deal of that kind of solemnity, they can't help themselves. In spite of themselves, they produce funny things. They produce funny things. We were sharing this in class yesterday with a group, and these are they're actual taken from newsletters from many different denominations. This is real. I mean, this wasn't made up to give humor or anything like that. And they I'll read a few of them. Miss Charlene Mason sang, I will not pass this way again. giving obvious pleasure to the congregation. I like this one a lot. Ladies, don't forget the rummage sale. It's a chance to get rid of those things not worth keeping around the house, and don't forget to bring your husbands. The peacemaking schedule for today has been cancelled due to a conflict. Probably a conflict of interest, but that's the way it's written out. The sermon this morning, Jesus walks on water. The sermon for tonight is searching for Jesus. This is for real. Next Thursday, there will be tryouts for our choir. They really do need all the help they can get. Remember in prayer those who are sick of our church and community. That little "in" was left out. Weight Watchers will meet at 7 p.m. Please use the large double doors at the side end. The associate minister unveiled the church's new tithing campaign last Sunday. I upped my pledge. Now up yours. And then the last one, there are many more. Low self-esteem support group will meet Thursday at 7 p.m. Please be sure to use the back door. Now you see, in spite of ourselves, we create mirth, we create laughter, we create, that sense of bubbliness. Now, none of those things are really funny, but nevertheless, we laugh. We laugh because there's something in us that gets tickled. And I'm going to commission us all to go out tonight, this very day, this afternoon, and tickle as many people as we possibly can, because we ourselves are first tickled by it all. And embrace the humor in life and living. And if you're open and receptive to that humor, it will find you. It will find you. And you'll have every opportunity to put smiles on your own face and on the faces of others. It's a very godly thing to do. It's a beautiful, powerful, potent spiritual practice to laugh and to create laughter wherever we are, because within each one of us is the God who laughs, the God who is joyous, the God who is the celebration of all life and loves to celebrate. And we need to love to celebrate too, and see it all somehow or another as holy, sacred, worthy, good. And not think that worship is something that happens 1 hour or so a week when we come to temple or church. Of course, when you go to temple, it's several hours. Or you go to the ashram several hours. Or you go to agape several hours, which I love. It's not for several hours a week, our worship. Our worship is every moment of our eternal, everlasting lives, given to us the opportunity to be worshipful. And what is it to worship? To worship is to praise. To praise is to be grateful and thankful. You cannot praise if you're not grateful and thankful. You can't. It's impossible. So worship has to do with celebrating every single day and drinking every day to its last drop. And be aware too that the statistics also show that we spend 26 years of our lives asleep. But I would say it's much more than that, because we're asleep when we're awake as well. We spend 11 years in front of a television, and I can assure you we're not laughing sitting in front of the television most of the time. And we spend 7 years, surfing the net. And we spend something like 25 weeks on hold. On hold. Now, when it comes to the end of our days, what do we want to look back over and see we have been doing and producing in our lives? Watching television, surfing the net, as being on hold? I don't think so. So we want to take every day and live it wisely and well, and as I say, drink it to its last drop, so that with great satisfaction, fulfillment, and that lovely weariness of a day well done, fall into sleep and wake up into another day of humor and mirth and laughter and joy and fun and delight in going out there to make people laugh. Are you on for it this week? Yeah. And as I said this morning, if you get any good jokes, share them. It's always nice to have, now jokes you could tell your mommy I'm talking about. And only those kinds of jokes. Well, I'm seeing in all of you the fun, the humor, the joy, and the laughter of God. And I'm knowing that you're ready to share that with the world beyond. So, we're ready to be happy. We're ready for the revolution of happiness. And so it is fun. Fun, fun. See? Already we've made a difference. Already we've made a difference.
We invite you to experience Dr. Moira in person on Sundays. Our services are at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m., and childcare is available. Please join us. If you enjoy these messages and would like to make a donation to our center, please visit our website at redondocsl.org. Thank you for your support of this ministry.